And as I said, we continue with Battleground Canada now. A lot of early jockeying this week, particularly by the Conservative and Liberal parties, as they look ahead to that general election in 2015. Conservative strategist, veteran of election war rooms, Jason Lietaer joins me now from Toronto. Jason, let me ask you about, first of all, let's start with what the Liberals are doing. Sure. The big news coming out of the caucus was, it was the only
news out of the caucus.
Well, no, Stephen Bronfman is the new fundraising chair. And as I just said a minute ago to Jeff Sharp, okay, great. Bronfman's and Trudeau's, a couple of middle-class guys ready to go.
Millionaire hires another millionaire to raise millions, right?
Well, so let me ask you about that, because you and I and the Liberals know fundraising hasn't been as good as it can be for that party, and your party, the Tories, have been outstanding on fundraising. Sure. Can a millionaire figure out a way to get middle-class and lower-middle-class folks to part with $20 a month?
I still don't think the Liberals have got this figured out. You know, there's a maximum of about $1,000 that anybody can donate to any federal political party. They haven't figured this out. They've hired a guy that is in charge of, corporate donations. There's no corporate donations. There's no union donations. You got to go out and get regular, average Canadians to give you a few bucks. And I just don't think Bronfman even. When was the last time he was in small town Canada? I don't think he knows where most of the main streets are, sort of outside of Bay Street. And I just don't know how he's going to be able to do it. I don't think they've got it yet. And I'm frankly a little bit happy that they hired him.
All right, let's. We've got a Stephen Harper clip from today. I want to run this now. We're talking about it right afterwards.
And have you, sir, ever tried marijuana?
Yes. My answer to that is, do I seem like I smoke marijuana?
You never know.
The whole pot politics, that's actually about as funny as it gets when it comes to the PM, don't you think?
Yeah, you know what, I think, I don't know if you had that one prepared in advance, but I got a chuckle out of it. I think the press gallery got a chuckle out of it, and, at least he can have some fun with it. And, listen, the thing with this pot stuff is, Trudeau's been talking about pot, and the Liberal Party have been talking about pot for weeks now, and I think it's a serious question, right? Like, all they're talking about is pot and weed. When are they going to put out a policy agenda? And I heard you debating it earlier. I'm a little surprised, to be honest with you, that they're letting themselves be defined by the pot party rather than the party of whatever else they want to talk about.
Let me talk a little bit too, and we've touched on this earlier this week, about some of the changes in the PMO. And normally most Canadians aren't going to care who the staffer is, etc. But there is a new deputy chief of staff, Jenny Byrne. You know her pretty well. You've worked closely with her. I'm going to take that, I'm going to look at that appointment and say, this is a sign that the PMO is going to get back on a bit of a battle footing, maybe a little more partisan in the fall. Yeah,
I think I like the way that you talked about battle footing. Listen, every party's got a couple of years before the next election campaign. They're putting in place the people that they want in key portfolios. I think you saw the Prime Minister do that with his cabinet shuffle earlier this year. That was a bit of the discussion coming out of it, was he's got the people that he wants in key portfolios to fight this campaign. Jenny Byrne is a fantastic political staffer, a very fine strategist and a great organizer, and I think she'll bring some discipline and some and a renewed sense of urgency around the office. And listen, every general sort of brings back their team that has had some success for the next fight, and I think that that's what the Prime Minister is doing right now.
Now, Jenny Byrne is the deputy chief of staff. The chief of staff is Ray Novak, the longest-serving aide with Harper, has been back, for forever, basically, with the Prime Minister. And one of the lines that was put to me, actually, is Brian Leather. I got to give Brian credit for this. Was Nigel Wright got Bay Street, Ray Novak gets Barry's Bay, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And in that sense, Ray will probably have an easier time of getting the caucus to connect again with the PMO. That there might have been a little daylight happening there, and that too, I assume, would be a good thing for Conservatives. Well, listen,
Ray's as good as they get, and he's I like the Barry's Bay initiative. The guy is from rural Canada, and he's a no-nonsense guy who keeps a low profile and just gets things done. I think he's done a lot of good work around the both when I worked with him and since, and he seems to be putting the PMO really back on an election footing and on a footing to govern for the next couple of years. So. I respect Ray a lot, and I think you're right. I think he does have the kinds of qualities that you're looking for in a leader.
I want to ask you a little bit about the Justin phenomenon that we saw, I guess, this week with the caucus out in Prince Edward Island. Yeah. Obviously, there was a certain amount of media attention. Not as much. Some media may have went overboard, but I don't think a lot that I thought might have did. But the response from the Conservatives, there's Trudeau and the Liberals out in PEI, and we saw yesterday 3 ministers, I think, one of them, Gail Shea, is from PEI, but Denny LaBelle, Julian Fantino were out there, handing out checks. Here's a check to your water main. Here's a check for your community center. Here's the Charlottetown Convention Center's getting a big multi-million-dollar refit. Can Conservatives buy the love of Prince Edward Islanders with a checkbook?
I don't know whether that's the case. I mean, listen, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in terms of, and a lot of gamesmanship when people plan these kinds of caucus meetings. But what I see actually when I look right now is I saw the Prime Minister out today. He made an announcement on protection of kids, for kids, from cyber predators and from predators out there. And I see, you've got Trudeau essentially having to apologize yesterday for having no policy and saying, check back in a couple of years. You got the Prime Minister out, talking about Syria, talking about child predators, and making a bit of a funny crack on what seems Justin's key plank, which is pot. I thought the Prime Minister, if that's the way it's going to go for the next couple of years, the Prime Minister talking about substantive issues, Trudeau talking about not having an agenda, I can live with that.
Yeah, as I've always said, Trudeau's got a couple of years to get some policies. Harper's got a couple of years to get better hair. Anyways, all right, Jason Lietaer in Toronto tonight. Thanks so much, my friend.
Thanks. Well, you can cut your hair at least.
Yes, true. All right, thank you again.
See you.
All right.